Hey guys, it's Jade Dill here. Now, a very serious story here that really does hit home. Max Spears, 39, has been killed, has been murdered. Now, Max Spears, if you don't know who he is, type him in on YouTube and you will see a lot about him. He was a conspiracy theorist who was very interested in time travel, MK Ultra, and had a lot of thoughts about the collabs that he has done. They are very thought-provoking, quite scary at times, slightly draining, but very interesting. Now, he was traveling to Poland to collab with the channel he'd actually collabed with before, and what had happened was, while he was in Poland, he was staying with a lady, a friend apparently, and apparently he was found dead on the sofa, a fit 39-year-old, and apparently it was of natural causes. Now, his body was released last week, but they're refusing to do a post-mortem on him, and they're refusing to rule it as under suspicious circumstances. Now, this is really shocking because a 39-year-old doesn't just die of natural causes. You don't just die of natural causes when you're under the age of, 70 years old. It just doesn't happen. It's ridiculous. He's a young man. He was still in his prime, and now he's wound up dead. It's very scary and it's very shocking. Now, Max had a lot to say about a lot of different things. Some of the things he had to say were he believed that the same people in power were the same people who've always been in power, for the last 50,000 years. He believed that actually Queen Elizabeth isn't really Queen Elizabeth, but she's actually Queen Victoria, and that through a change of bodies and through a pro-supernatural mixed with science, she was able to prolong her life and keep living, mainly because of the fact he said that they weren't human. And he had a lot to say about a lot of things. Now, a lot of papers are calling him a UFOologist. He wasn't a UFOologist. He actually spoke in great detail about how when people get abducted, a lot of it is a military experiment psyop. It's actually the military doing experiments on them. It's not really UFOs. And to be honest, I personally do believe this. I've always thought that if there are ETs out there, they personally don't want to abduct us and do all these strange experiments. It's actually something that man wants to do, and people at the very top of the food chain, whether you believe they're human or not, just to put it out there. So he was talking about a lot of stuff with substance. He was talking about what's going to happen in the future. He was talking about frequencies, time travel, time loop, and really, the crux of it is he said that MK Ultra was absolutely everywhere. They were using it to make soldiers. They're still using MK Ultra now. And he talked a lot about and exposed the military industrial complex, and he knew a lot of this because he was an alleged victim of this. Now, the Daily Mail reported this story very accurately. They did a whole piece on what his conspiracy theorist views were, which was amazing for a mainstream-ish newspaper to actually go into the depth of what he believed in. And they actually put down that he allegedly was a victim of MK Ultra mind control. They actually put that in the article, which is the most you'll see. You won't see this on the BBC, which is the most you'll see. So I was very pleased with that actually the mainstream are starting to be aware and wake up to the fact that MK Ultra never went away. Mind control still happens now. The crazy thing about this is not only is his death incredibly suspicious, but RT, Russia Today, actually went and interviewed the Kent broadcaster, which he'd gone on the show with before, and this gentleman had said that he was exposing a lot of powerful things and a lot of awful things, and that he was getting more popularity and he was saying too much, and this was a threat to them, so somebody wanted him dead. There's also been speculation, I've seen it around the internet, people are saying that he vomited up black. It was a black liquid substance. And, guys, we all know a black vomit, isn't good. So people are speculating, specifically Russia Today are speculating that he was actually poisoned. Now, this really does remind me of Litvinenko, who was poisoned in this country. Now, the fact that the British authorities are refusing to do another autopsy and are refusing to investigate into this grossly suspicious death is shocking. Now, what I think happened was he was clearly murdered. What happened was And I was just recently watching a video with him in it, and he said that he has to try very hard to keep himself safe because he has a lot of enemies. Apparently he texted his mum 3 days before and said that your boy's in trouble. If anything happens, please investigate. So she's trying her best to investigate. Now, what's kind of weird about this is that his mum hasn't spoken out about the MK Ultra things. It's kind of bizarre because you would think she would speak about it, but the fact is, obviously, you know, she may be scared. You know, they've just killed her son, of exactly what's going on. You know, a lot of people don't want to get on social media and speak publicly about these things, and I totally understand that. But you know, I'm going to be honest here, it's a little bit bizarre. So what I think happened was he was murdered. They waited till he went out the country and then they slowly poisoned him. And they don't want an autopsy because they don't want it traced. Now, a lot of poisons and arsenic, they can actually go into the body and be totally untraceable. This is a cover-up to the highest end of society. And what is really scary about this is that if you go to my previous video about the ex-chef of the Queen, he also died in mysterious circumstances. He fell so-called off a roof. Apparently he fell off a roof and was wearing fairy wings, and this isn't suspicious to anybody. Even though there was bars, the roof was very protected, you know, so we are just made to think that a sane, normal human being is just going to fall off a roof with bars. Nobody saw him jump. There's no CCTV images of it. So what we are seeing is a absolute assault on anybody who is against the establishment. People who are saying the things that they don't want to hear, really speaking the truth, the stuff that we find hard. And some of his stuff is really hard to listen to because it's like, wow, you know, it's about science, it's about frequencies, and it's about things that we weren't taught in school. And a lot of us, it's quite shocking to a lot of us, but I'd encourage you all to look into his work to keep his memory alive. His mother does have a GoFundMe page. She's trying to raise money for a headstone for him, so I'd encourage you to go and find Max Spears' GoFundMe page and to donate to that if you do have any spare cash, if that is what you want to do. But you know, the fact is I'm kind of speechless here because, I mean, one, it's great it's in mainstream media, but two, you know, they're not hiding it from us. You know, this is an open message to all conspiracy theorists, truthers out there, that actually, you know, if you don't play ball and if you don't shut the fuck up, then we're gonna fucking kill you. So this is an open message. This is why mainstream media have picked it up, because it's hiding in plain sight. It's good for our cause because it's giving, you know, it more credence, but it's also them showing us what they have done. Now, I think a petition, if it hasn't already, should be started to get a debate in Parliament, because, you know, his body does need to, then it does need to be a post-mortem, and justice does need to be served. But at the end of the day, us guys out here, we know what happened to him, and we hope and we pray that he rests in eternal peace, because this is just absolutely shocking. And I would, you know, encourage anybody who does pray to pray for his mother, because she is definitely in danger right now, and I'm hoping that she is, you know, somewhere safe, but she's in extreme, utter danger. It's like Whitney Houston. She died, and then a year later on the same day her daughter died in the same circumstances. Now, they could easily spin this and say she was so stressed and heartbroken by this, but we know it's not true. Now, this isn't a new thing. This happens a lot. Opponents, you know, the Queen, many people who were, there were 3 main witnesses who were standing up against the case, going back to a case in the 1970s, which Kevin Ennett was representing, which is when the Queen and that disgusting, weird husband, whatever thing, unhuman, weird, demon-looking thing she's married to, went to Canada. They went to a Native American reserve, and it was run by a Catholic school. And they went and they took loads of children down to a river, and loads of children never came back. Now, this story has actually been well documented in the Canadian mainstream media. Now, the funny thing about this story is that for a long time I've been following it, and the international courts of, wow, this is a hard one to say there, international courts of justice of the state. Okay, I've got the name kind of wrong, but the link will be below. But Kevin Ennett, if you don't know him, he started up a court of crimes of the state and church to basically hold people accountable for this. And the Queen has been under a warrant and actually found guilty on a number of different charges. Now, these children, they allegedly went for a picnic at a place called Devil's Creek. The 3 remaining witnesses said the Queen made them kiss her feet. She was wearing a tight white boot, a bit like a ballet shoe. And, you know, a bunch of them never came back and no one knows where they went. Now, I've been following the story, like I said, for years. Now, just by mere coincidence, about 2 months ago, I was at a cafe just local to me, and I was having a nice leak because it was still hot then. And I met this Canadian guy, and we were talking about the Brexit, and he told me that he lived across the road from a Native American reserve, and it was also a school, and it was a school run by Catholics. It was across the road from him, and he said that the school was so scary that you wouldn't even want to cross the road to be anywhere near it, and that children would go there and they would never be seen again. Now, I met this man by chance, so it was crazy that we were talking about this. So yeah, I do believe that story. Now, 3 of the main witnesses have all turned up dead in suspicious circumstances, all when they're about to give evidence. So the phenomena of, you know, people killing people to get them out the way when they're getting too close to the truth, you know, it isn't something new. And this is why a lot of people on social media, and a lot of so-called conspiracy theorists and truthers, there's a certain amount of things they cannot say, and that isn't because they're bad people. It's because self-preservation. They want to live, they have families, you know. Now, there's a lot of things that I want to say, but I don't feel at the moment that is safe for me to say. There's a lot of research I've done into many different things, but the fact is you have to hedge your bets because your life is your life, and that's why I focus more on the political side of things, because of some very strange things that were happening to me when I first started this channel, and you know, some of them I shared with you, and they've kind of stopped happening as I've kind of more focused on the political aspect. And while I'm not admitting defeat, I just know that the channel needs to be big enough to kind of, in essence, kind of protect me from exactly what's, you know, what could be, you know, unfortunately. So this is a grave miscarriage of justice. It's grave, it's terrible, it's shocking, and it's disturbing. And I suggest that we all try our best to get justice for this man. I will personally be donating to his GoFundMe page so he can have a headstone, because funeral is incredibly expensive. And I hope that his girlfriend and his kids are okay, and I would urge his mother to go into hiding and to just really be careful now, because yes, all eyes are on her, but you know, they can basically do anything they want when it comes to the establishment and cover-ups. So yes, it's a very shocking story. And when I read it last night, I was mind boggled. I was shocked, and I was, you know, the elite are telling us, you know, shut your mouth. And Julian, and it all kind of ties together with the fact we have Julian Assange, who's holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy, and we have the whole WikiLeaks saga, and we have so many, you know, Bradley Manning, and then we have Edward Snowden. So, you know, they're taking a real hard line on this, but we can't be discouraged. We have to stick to our own truths and carry on, because at the end of the day, there's more of us than there is of them. So thank you very much for watching, and remember, non-compliance.